This is Let's Talk Business with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Business podcast. Coming up on the show today, we're going to get to know more about the businesses run by the hosts of this show, which I think is a lot of fun. You know, we're day-to-day operations in and out. We're talking to people about what they're doing in their business, but we also have businesses that we run, sometimes multiple businesses. So we're going to get to a chance to dig into that a little bit. And yes, I am recovering from the flu, so that's why my voice is this way. I'm not like I wasn't yelling at the Commanders yesterday as they got their butt handed to them by Philadelphia. But anyway, I haven't watched that game yet, but I watched the tail end of the Kansas City game. It was one I usually watch replays, but this one was live, and I was nervous for Kansas City.
It was crazy.
Did you watch?
Came down to the wire. I watched the very end too.
It was a good game. I liked it. It wasn't too close, but it was close enough.
Close enough. You didn't watch the game.
I don't watch games unless I'm like physically there. I like the energy of a sports game, but I'm not going to watch it on TV.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right, I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Crocus Virtual Staffing, a company that recruits and staffs experienced overseas administrative assistants for insurance agents and attorneys. So if you're curious about the most common tasks that VAs are doing for the businesses, head over to our website at crocus.com and grab a list of the top 20 tasks that VAs are doing for businesses just like yours. Link is in the podcast description.
And I am Heather Boehme. I'm a certified business coach and owner of Onset Professional Development, where we focus on process mapping and optimization for established businesses looking to scale up and out of their business.
And I'm Keaton Frieberg, an attorney and a partner at Texas Suits Law Firm. Our firm is dedicated to serving real estate and business owners with their legal matters.
A quick reminder to follow the Let's Talk Business podcast on all major podcast platforms and social media, where you can catch video versions of the show. You can get to everything easily from our website at satalkradio.com.
You want to do the mixer promo?
Let's do it. The Let's Talk Business podcast has another mega mixer coming up here in San Antonio on Thursday, March 27th from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Tickets are on sale now for just $20. So a huge expo-style mixer with lots of networking. There's vendor tables where we can chat with local business owners and take advantage of some great deals they have to offer. There's going to be great snacks and plenty of drinks. All the proceeds of this event are going to go to multiple charities here in San Antonio area, and we're excited. We're expecting to sell out yet again. So get your tickets at the Let's Talk Business Mega Mixer right now by visiting our website, satalkradio.com.
Yeah, that's the expo style mixers are my favorite type of mixer for sure. They're just a lot of high energy, a lot of fun, I think. So a quick shout out to Daniel Gomez and his team at Daniel Gomez Enterprises for being a platinum sponsor for this upcoming Let's Talk Business Mega Mixer on March 27th. Based in San Antonio, Daniel Gomez Enterprises specializes in motivational, keynote speaking, leadership development, sales training, confidence coaching, and business consulting. Daniel, of course, is an award-winning motivational speaker, business coach, corporate trainer, and executive coach dedicated to elevating individuals and businesses to achieve their true potential. I know he loves his work. If you're looking to inspire your team or enhance your business performance, be sure to check him out at danielgomezglobal.com, or you can call him at 210-663-5954. All right, we made it through that. Thanks for the help, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey, you really jumped in. That was awesome. Mm-hmm. Jumped in for the save.
All right, so Heather, let's start with you. I know you've been in business for a while. Onset Professional Development is the name of your company, and you're dialed in on business mapping. So tell me the origin story of business mapping, if I'm even using that term correctly, or what you're calling it.
Well, it's more process mapping. So as I have spent the last 4 years working as a business coach, what I've really noticed is pretty much everything within a business is a process. But a lot of my clients are visionary style leaders. So they are do it first, figure it out later, right? It's like, I'm just going to go do, and if it works out for me, then I build, which is why most businesses get started. Because if you thought about it too much, you probably wouldn't start one because they're hard. So where process mapping comes in is once you're established and your business has grown a bit, it gets to the point where reacting to everything is no longer feasible. You're bringing in too much business, you're bringing in too much revenue and work, and you have too many employees to constantly be reacting to problems. So that's where really mapping out the processes of your business come in. As a visionary style entrepreneur, usually you know everything that happens in the business up in your head. Unfortunately, that's rarely written anywhere. And whenever even living in San Antonio for years, I still check the Google map, right? Is the way I want to get there going to be clear and free of traffic? And the way I do that is by just putting in where I want to go. And then I see what's the best route to get there, right? I know the city. I could get there without a map, but I want to see, is there going to be any traffic along the way? And I don't go to the step-by-step instructions because that's where people default to. They're like, I'm going to write SOPs and it's going to be a document. And they write it out step by step and nobody ever looks at it. So what the mapping is it's like having that high-level overview of how you want the processes in your business to run. From point of sale all the way to fulfillment, how do you want your clients to experience the process of your business? Where do you want the follow-ups to be? What do you have to have happen no matter what? And where can you give your employees some autonomy to do whatever? If you're baking a cake, I don't really care how that cake is made as long as the cake turns out good, but it has to follow certain type of ingredients to fit my quality standards. And that's where we start building it out in your business, pulling what's in your head into a visual picture that your employees and team can follow without you having to be in the process.
How does a business even recognize, number one, that they might need it or that it even exists?
So I think a good indicator of need in most businesses is chaos. It's surprising how big a business can get and still have really chaotic organizational processes. So with leaders of a business, generally they're great at bringing in new business. But as a leader of a business, if you've ever thought, wow, I would sell more, but I just don't think my team can handle it, that's a good indicator that you probably need some process mapping and optimization.
Because you're saying that they should be able to sell more and they should be able to handle more. They just don't have the processes to handle it.
Mm-hmm. Most processes happen. It's like, I made a sale, now we're going to figure out how to do it, right? Because that's how visionary leaders work. I make sale and then I figure out how it's done, which is great. It gets things started. But usually things happen a little differently every time unless you're the exact one doing it. And it's hard to train employees because you're facilitating the business, you're out making more sales. So at a certain point, if you want to grow that business beyond just you and your core team, you have to decide what processes need to remain with your company and how you can scale them up to facilitate more business. So one of the questions I ask most of my clients is, if you had unlimited amounts of business coming in, could your team handle it? Would you know exactly who to hire? And would you have to be doing anything in the process?
That's a really great metric. So when at the end of the day, what is the end product that you're providing your clients?
So the end product of the process mapping and optimization is actually a live visual document of how your company runs. So I work with my clients, and the first step of working with me after we get onboarded is to decide, where is this business going? What is the exit plan here?
For the entrepreneur?
For the entrepreneur, yes.
Okay.
If you're going to be running this business, where's the exit? Because one way or another, we're all going to die. Mm-hmm. You will exit this business, whether you want to or not one day. Do you want it to be on your terms or circumstantially?
Sure.
100% of people want it to be on their terms. So the first thing we start with is, what's the vision for the company? Some people want to build a company that they can stay in forever and hand over to their kids one day. Great. What does the company that you want to hand to your kids look like? Do you want to hand a chaotic mess over to your kids that they have to now figure everything out on their own and get everyone's loyalty on their own? Or do you want to hand over something that they can easily step into? Same with selling. How much do you want to sell it for? What do you want it to look like? How many people are you running? How much business are you doing when you step out and sell? And that's pretty easy to figure out based on the multiple. If you want to walk away with $10 million in your pocket and your company has a 5x multiple, okay, we need to get to about $2 million in gross annual revenue in order to fulfill that vision. So that's where we start. Where does your business, where do you want to leave it? And then we can work backwards to decide, what employees, what staff, what resources are you going to need to be able to fulfill that goal?
One of my favorite parts of the process was figuring out, identifying all of the different processes and assigning the proper person to it, which is empowering too, because it's empowering for that person to be like, okay, they're in charge of this particular area. We just need to make sure that they have everything they need in order to execute, which my team's been working on the SOPs from the process mapping.
Well, see, that's actually like step 3 of my process. Step 1 is to figure out where you're going. And step 2 is just to define the phases of your business. Every business, every industry has different phases to it. What are those phases? Usually there's some typical ones like lead interest to client onboarding to the next step, all the way through to fulfillment. What are those different phases of your specific industry? And then we can start to map the processes. Then we can say, okay, what does someone raising their hand and saying, hey, I'm interested in your product, all the way through getting quoted for the product look like? How do they interact with your company? Who facilitates that interaction? How do they follow up? So it's really just taking how should your company be running if it's at its highest level and making a visual of it.
Yeah, and by doing that, now I'm working myself even farther and farther out, but yet I can rest in my mind knowing, okay, I know there's a proper system, a process, my team's properly supported, the client's going to get what they need, and there's going to be consistency to the execution. So it's a really good process.
How long are you typically working with an entrepreneur? And I guess it could probably definitely depend on the type of business, size of the business, but how long does a typical entrepreneur work with you?
It very much depends on the size. A business under 5 million, we can usually get through their process mapping in about 6 weeks.
And what does that mean? Is that every day working together? What is that? What does 6 weeks look like?
I think my clients would want to shoot themselves if I worked with them every single day, right?
Sure.
No, usually it's once a week. We spend an hour just going over the big picture of their business. So the first week is where's your business going? Second week is what is the phases? And the next 4 weeks are just, hey, let's map out how things should be at grand scale. And usually while we're mapping out the processes, we find 2 things. Where are you stuck in the business? And we immediately start to identify areas of your business that we can make more efficient through things like automation, virtual assistants, cutting down steps in a process using the software you already have. I've found that most of my clients use about 20% of whatever software they're using, just because they don't know that their software could do it until I ask the question. And then all of a sudden, boom, they've saved 5 hours a week, because instead of having to go back and forth with their clients or back and forth with their staff, they're able to cut all of that out by using their software.
Yeah, and I had my staff over one of the particular units that she went through, and they were the ones going through it with her. I was just kind of monitoring stuff. But as a business owner, I'm busy doing lots of other stuff. It wasn't something I was looking forward to doing something like this. I know I needed it, but yet I could have my staff do it.
Oh, that's great. So you're working with staff as well as the owner or the principal.
Absolutely. I mean, if the staff is the one doing a lot of these processes, then why not take the knowledge out of their heads as well? And one of the beneficial things for the owners from that is they start to see, how much is my staff really doing? How much is one person handling? Because we color coordinate based on who's doing what task. So with Mark, we saw that one vital team member was doing a very significant amount of stuff. And if anything happened to her, well, that would not be good. So, and she was able to see, wow, I really do a lot. And they were kind of able to collaborate with Mark to say, okay, we do need another staff member in this area. And she now sees a really clear picture of where she could grow in the company and what tasks she would be doing as she grows. So after we had our session, she was, I think, even more excited about her job.
Oh, she loves that stuff, man. It's just... And it's really kind of neat to see Abby own it like that. And then, yeah, we've got that other staff member on now and is working. We hired another. I mean, just identifying what we need, make sure they got the right support, and just off they go.
And ultimately, the bigger you grow, the more staff you bring on, the bigger of a pain point training staff becomes, because you have to stop what you're doing as an owner or the primary person in the business and train the new person who's going to make your life easier eventually. But for the first 6 to 12 weeks, they have no idea what they're doing. They're getting their feet wet. And most visionary style entrepreneurs, it's like drinking from a fire hose. It's like, follow me around. I'm going to try to dump all the information from my head onto your shoulders, and hopefully you get it. And if you don't, get out. I'm going to hire a new person. I just want to fire everybody and start over, is something that I hear a lot, funny enough. But what this does is, rather than just trying to dump all of your knowledge onto their shoulders, it gives them a visual. It's like, here's the path from A to Z. You are the yellow dots in this path, but you see how it fits into the whole. So, and then what we're doing with Marc and a few of my other clients is we're taking the visual and we're actually building out a live standard operating procedure library. So instead of building out an outlined document that, let's be honest, nobody reads them. Who's ever bought a franchise and read that entire binder of SOPs that a franchise gives them? Nobody does it. But what a lot of my clients are doing is they're having the staff members that do the tasks now just make Loom videos of how they do things and insert them into the workflow itself. So a new trainee can come on and say, I'm yellow. Okay, when this happens, click it, and it shows you exactly how to do your job. And then you can go to your supervisor with questions instead of with teach me everything.
I love that. I love it from multiple standpoints. The onboarding, it costs so much to onboard a new staff member. And so it sounds to me like you're helping expedite the onboarding process, which is invaluable at the end of the day. So
not only that, but you can get yourself away from it. You know what I mean? Because if you're not worried about making sure that the right information is being passed on because it's systemized, you can have somebody else do it for you, and now you're out of it. And at the end of the day, I know you're the same of mind. You don't want to be in day-to-day operations of a business. You want to run the thing from a high level so you can focus on the other things you need to be focusing on.
I love that. So tell me more about what this the difference between an SOP and a live working map.
So I work with my clients and I build out these maps on a live whiteboard online. So it's documented online in a living thing. So processes, they break and they move. As your company grows, you're going to try things that in your head worked great. But when you're doing them live, maybe they don't work as well, or there's more efficient way to do them. So what's great is you walk away with a live whiteboard that you can simply go in and change as you find new ways. Like one of my clients, we had built out a process where she did a consultation, a one-on-one consultation with her clients before she went out and saw their property. Well, that was taking a lot of time. And so as she did it, she was like, oh, this is taking way too much time. So she ended up just recording a video of the initial consultation and putting that up as a step. Before you do the assessment, watch this video to see if you're right for us. And now she just changed up her whiteboard, and she says she just gets initial consultation payments. And then she knows she's going to be on an actual in-person meeting with them rather than having to do a pre-meeting. So she found a more efficient way, and she just updated her whiteboard instead of me having to come in and ask a bunch of questions. So it becomes a living document that you can actually edit and move yourself because it's not super complicated. And then SOPs, same thing. Rather than having to retype up an entire document that, let's be honest, no one's going to read because nobody reads them. It's like getting a long email. Give me the bullet points.
Right.
You can just go in and re-record a Loom video and then copy paste the link into your whiteboard, and it lives there. So it's like updating a Google sheet rather than updating an Excel spreadsheet that then somebody has to request from your email and you have to send it to them.
And most of the time they can't even open it still.
Exactly, and it gets disseminated everywhere. And for my larger companies that are looking to scale beyond one location, we're actually building out live Trello boards where their SOP libraries live. So some companies, they're great with just having the Loom links directly in the whiteboard, but some of my companies, you click the task within the whiteboard, it takes you to the Trello card that just has the Loom embedded. So you're able to build out an actual living library of this is how to run my business, which I see the potential for it coming in the long run, because how much easier would it be for you to purchase a business if you had an actual map of not only what's happening in the business, but who is doing what, and then exactly how to do that what. So if somebody quits after you acquire the business, you're not having to go and learn everything. You can just hire someone and have the entire training manual already built for you. I see that being a massive value add for business acquisitions moving forward.
Yeah, if you're trying to sell, man, geez, because it's easier to sell a business if it's like that.
That's exactly where I was going, and I think you might even be able to sell your business for more. It's much more appetizing. And if I'm looking to buy a turnkey business and I have two right in front of me, and one has this awesome whiteboard, visual live whiteboard, and one has our boring SOPs, I'm gonna go with the one with the whiteboard. So that's
even
awesome.
The boring SOPs. How many businesses do you know that have even the boring paper document
Well, and how
SOPs?
up to date would they be even if they did have them?
Just it's boring, and visionary leaders don't like it. And unfortunately, that's true. But if it were true, like if they liked doing all the documentation and paperwork, there'd be so many less businesses. So that's what I've been kind of working through the last few years as a business coach, is how do I pair that organized integrator style that I have with all the visionary leaders I work with. And this is what I have found seems to work the best, is I'll take that planning and I'll do it for you so that you can grow.
And you know what else I see a lot is when someone goes to sell a business is that they'll require the key man to stay on board for a year or something like that. And a lot of the times there's a lot of pushback from the key man. They're like, I put this on the market because I want out. So one, they're a key man, but two, this sounds like it reduces key man risk. Or one, it sounds like it reduces key man risk. And two, it sounds like it reduces the requirement to have key man or the principal stay on board after the fact.
How many business deals have you heard of that have fallen through because whoever was purchasing the business realized that the business was absolutely linchpinned on the owner? Mm-hmm. They bring in on the sales. They do all the operations. They have all the relationships. Some of my clients, they realize that they're really in it and they didn't even think about it. They're just reacting. They're doing, they're moving, they're running, they're keeping things afloat. And so this is a great way to know, okay, here's all the things that I do in my business. And rather than trying to, when people say work on the business instead of in it, I have found there's a lot of confusion around that phrase. It's like, yeah, I need to work on the business, but what does that really mean? Because you're so busy doing things in it. So I think to work on your business, first you need to see where are you in the business so you can start pulling your feet out from the sticky mud one by one. You can't just pull your whole body out of the mud because the mud is sticky and it doesn't come out. But if you take out 1 foot at a time, then it's a lot easier to pull yourself out and then you can start working on it. So you're not responding to emergency phone calls. You're not getting called on your vacation to handle emergencies because you already have a process built out for your employees to follow. It's 5th grade level that we build out these process boards as. So,
well, this goes back to your first question. Why are you in the business? For me, cash flow, right? I mean, I think some people just want a job. That's the danger point, I think, is because they're not going to take something like this as seriously because they like being that person that's intimately tied in and even brag about it. That, they do this and they do that and they do all these pieces. But myself having been sick recently pretty bad and you get knocked out of your business, can it still function? You know what I mean? That's just duty, responsibility towards your staff and towards your clients, that everything doesn't collapse if you're out of pocket. That motivation, that initial question, I think that's where people should start. Are you in it for a job or are you in it for cash flow? If you're in it for a job, it's almost like you just don't want to be told what to do. You want to make your own rules, and which is, hey, that's noble, that's fine. But at some point, life catches up to you.
Well, and like you said, even if you are in it for the job, could you be selling more? Could your team be handling more? And so even if it is a job and that's what you want, could you be making more at your job?
Yeah, one of the easiest ways I've heard to kind of explain what this is I talked to somebody who actually purchased a franchise, right? And why do people purchase franchises? Because they've got the playbook, right? And he told me, this is what I was thinking I would get when I purchased a franchise. The step-by-step how to run the business in a visual way. And That's not what he got. A lot of the time franchises, you've got the big binder, you've got all the legal jargon that's absolutely required to give a franchise, but you don't have like a to Z, here's how you run the business outside of their training programs. So that becomes what it is. It's an A to Z. If you fell off the face of this earth, would your business continue to run? Could somebody else step in and do it? And if you've got that, then your business instantly becomes more valuable.
I agree. All right. Well, that was a nice dig into what you're doing there, Heather. I'm a huge fan because I've seen it firsthand what it's capable of doing and still learning, actually, other ways to apply it within my company. So I'm excited about what you're doing. What's the growth strategy there? What are you looking to do in the next 2 years, say?
So right now my website's getting finished up, and that's a big linchpin of my growth strategy, because without the website, it's hard for anyone outside of San Antonio to find me in a reputable fashion. Right now my business is mostly grown on referrals.
Which, by the way, if anybody posts anything on Facebook or something like that, looking for a business coach, somebody to help map out a business, Heather is just like, everybody's posting Heather. It's pretty crazy. I love it.
That's the good thing about doing it for free for a long time.
Well, you made a name for yourself, and you made a reputation, and so
that's the thing, is I want to start expanding out my reputation outside of San Antonio. So once I've got the landing page, my plan is to increase my social media presence, and I would love to build this out into something where I can not only be mapping larger companies, doing it by department and helping bigger companies, but I'd like to create online content so that entrepreneurs can do it for themselves. So more courses to teach entrepreneurs how to do it. Because if you do it early, it's a lot easier than if you're trying to do it when you're, a $10 million company with 60 employees and we're trying to grab everything out of everybody's head while things are moving at 100 miles an hour. If you build this out from the beginning, it's so much easier and simpler to do. So I'd love to create course content that teaches people, begin with the end in mind, map out the phases of your company, and then actually map out the processes of how you want it to be. Maybe not how you would do it, but how you want someone else to do it. Because when you put yourself in someone else's shoes, would you pay somebody to do that? People devalue their time so much. I've got entrepreneurs that are bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of revenue, going out to do a simple administrative check at, one of their sites. Would you pay somebody $50 an hour to do that? No. And you're getting paid way more than that if you can bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars of work. So I would love to create a platform where people can just learn how to do this on their own so that businesses come up with less exhaustion, burnout, chaos, because it negatively affects everyone. It negatively affects the entrepreneur. It negatively affects the employees. It negatively affects your family when your business is chaotic. And nobody wants to admit that it is. But if you peel back the layers and you look beyond the social media, so many, especially service-based businesses, are pure chaos. And if one key employee or one key entrepreneur were to get hit by a bus, I've been told to stop using that phrase, but it's poignant, then everything would go to heck in a handbasket. And that's what I would love to prevent, because I've been that burnt out employee. I've been that burnt out business owner, and it sucks.
Yeah. Redundancy in operations is one of my favorite things. It's harder to implement, but all right. Thanks, Heather. Appreciate that. Keaton, you're a business attorney here with Texas Suits Law Firm. You're one of the partners over there. Great law firm. Of course, you guys are just full transparency, you're also my attorney.
And mine.
And a friend of mine, too. I consider you a good friend. But
likewise, Mark.
You've recently got involved with a business called Scooply.
Yes.
SCOOPLY. So let's start there. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? How did this happen?
Yeah. So Scooply is a pet waste removal company here we service the San Antonio and Boehme market. Why did I get involved with it? I had a buddy who was interested in starting up this particular business model. They had heard of it before. It was interesting to me because I have 2 dogs and I'm not a fan of scooping up their waste, on the weekends. We just got a house. We got a pool back there. And so jumping out of the pool into some dog poop is not fun. So I thought it was interesting for multiple reasons. One reason being that the pet waste removal business model is a membership-based business model, and that is something that I've been involved in multiple companies before. I've never been involved in a membership-based business model, and I really, really like it.
Why do you like it?
I like it because it's consistent. I like it because, well, I think the biggest thing is it's consistent. I know you know what you're getting. You know that we have a repeatable process to acquire clients. And once you acquire those clients, I feel like it's like Netflix. You kind of set it and forget it. And I really, really like that.
Well, yeah, it's any kind of recurring revenue model is a good model to have, as long as of course the execution of services is great. Then you've got ongoing income. I mean, why accrue? I don't understand this. A lot of people are in some businesses where they go out, they acquire a client, and that's it. They do the service, and then they're constantly hunting food, and it's like my mind does not work that way. I'm very much about recurring revenue. Yeah,
and if you can, I've had a lot of people who have that constantly hunting food business model, and there's some places you just can't get away from it. It is what it is. But I've had some people be able to convert over to a membership-based model, which is pretty cool. A lot of the companies that I'm involved in can't, but this one you can, and so I like that. Talking about what Heather was touching on earlier, beginning with the end in mind, that's another reason why I wanted to get into this business, is because I wanted to do this one, everything right from the beginning, to put myself in a position to hopefully sell this at some point in time. I've never gone into a business with the intent to sell it right off the bat. And so it was cool.
It's easier to do for subsequent businesses than it is for the initial business.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If I could apply what we've learned and all these other businesses to the start of Suits or To the Moon or stuff like that, it would be crazy. So absolutely. So beginning with the end in mind, I knew I wanted to do everything right. I also was fascinated by how not complex the business model was, right? I mean, the business model is you have somebody go out, they open a gate to your house and they go, or to your backyard, and they go in and they remove the pet waste, and then they leave. They take a picture of the backyard as, once everything's been scooped, and then they take a picture of your gate to prove that it's been closed. And then they go to the next house. And so the business model one is, it's a relatively, in my mind, easy process to start up. And two, it's not very risky. So it's a little different than some of the other businesses that I'm involved in. So I like that as well.
It's almost like pest control, but without all the crazy chemicals.
Correct. Yeah, and you don't have to. Our guys don't have to have a pest control certification. I'm almost positive you do for to do pest control. So, yeah. It's
So at this point, I would absolutely classify you as a serial entrepreneur. How many business are you partnered in right now?
I'm partnered in 4 main ones. I got a few side ones that hold properties or something like that, but for the most part, there's 4 that are actively being managed.
So what indicates a good partnership opportunity for you? You've now successfully entered into 4. You obviously have to see something within whoever's going to be operating that business, because as far as I know, Suits is the only one you actively operate, right? You're in it.
Correct. That's accurate. I think the best attributes of a potential business partner is somebody that complements things that you aren't great at. So they're yin to your yang, and whether that's from a money standpoint or whether that's from a skill standpoint, they bring something to the table that you don't bring, and obviously there's got to be some chemistry there. Be able to work together and make decisions together. But yeah, I think having somebody that complements the things that because if you can do it all, then why bring on a partner, right? But yeah, all of my businesses all have partners, and I think we all bring something different to the table, and that's why they all work so effectively.
So I found that it's actually a lot harder to recognize your strengths sometimes, especially when you're getting your first business started. You're just doing everything, so you think kind of like, I am the best at everything. What was that process of recognizing, here are my strengths and here are where I need to partner on weaknesses?
Sure. And so every company is different. It depends on, there's been one business that I've been involved in where a weakness is that I don't have $800,000 to go into a deal, right? So part of the strengths and weaknesses there is that other people can bring capital. But when we're talking about just from a skills perspective, what I've identified about myself is that I will do whatever's going to be, like, I will make sure something gets done. Like I will, and sometimes the yin to my yang is someone that will slow down and help me fill in all of these little gaps because I'll get it from A to B or A to C, but maybe we missed B. So sometimes I need somebody to slow me down and to build out those processes and those systems actually.
Okay, so let me jump in here for just a second because I'm going through this right now with the social media business. I'm missing stuff, right? Especially like, I was out sick or whatever. So I brought on, Sarah is one of my VAs. I actually assigned her, and of course we haven't officially kicked it yet because I was out. But my whole point with her is to assign her as a project manager for this job, is to make sure that Marc Ebinger's responsibilities in this business all get done. So she's like my right-hand person for that. So
I love that. As
you expand, your operations or get into something else, and I know you've got some other ideas on what you're doing this year in 2025, but if you do go in a direction, then I would say have somebody that you can assign to make sure that, and it's not rocket science. It's like, just make sure that this is moving along the Trello board or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That is huge for me because I'm busy with lots of other things going on.
You're busy executing.
I'm busy executing, but I'm working on stuff more than in stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I recognize, well, shit, I'm going to have to work in it over here, but I really don't want to. I'm not getting into this for a job. So let me take somebody and assign them and say, this is your responsibility to do this, and then just make sure that they're properly, they know what's going on, what their responsibilities are, and they can execute at a high level. And then their job is to make sure things go along and then report back to me. And we have these discussions. Hey, how's this going? Where's it at? And this is where we're at, Mark. This is why the project has stopped over here. It's like I need a brain paying attention to that. So this is how I would imagine the Shark Tank folks do. They have teams assigned to these things so they can continue to acquire businesses, but they're slightly involved. They're only involved at that
the highest of the high levels.
Yeah, they're making huge decisions, or they're having that FaceTime meeting that needs to be recorded for television.
Well, I think there's a massive skill in being able to be crystal clear on what needs to be done and then having someone you can trust to get it done.
Definitely.
Because most entrepreneurs, I'm like this, if I want something done, and easiest is backyard projects because I've been doing those. I enjoy doing it, so I'll do it. But when I lay a brick patio, I know exactly what I want out of it, and I know how exactly I want it to look. My execution, not the highest quality, because I don't know how to flip and level sand and gravel and all that blah, 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 blah. I do it because it's fun, but is it the best quality? Absolutely not. But I could take that concept and give it to somebody else, and they're going to execute it at a way higher level than me.
That's a great point, and I think you asked me what the yin to the yang is. That's that. That is that.
The actual execution of the high level
It's
idea.
a project manager, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is what you need. But then it's making sure that the project manager's world is filled with the right information so that they can actually do their job.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs think they can get a project manager level person for an office administrator level salary or hourly wage. And unfortunately, if you've ever, I reference this book all the time, Rocket Fuel, The Visionary and the Integrator, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, Visionary Integrator. Steve Wozniak was paid a butt ton of money. You don't get high-level integrators for cheap at all. You can't make your office manager your integrator because they don't think like that. They are 3% of the population. A partner, though, they've got buy-in, they've got high-level skills. They may not need to get paid as much because they have ownership of the company. Mm-hmm. So I see absolute value in that. So you're recognizing integrators in the wild.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I think that's why the businesses that I've been part of, one of the big reasons why they've in my opinion they've done so well. I mean, you see Adam. I mean, he's so great at being the integrator. Some of my other partners in the law firm just super great at being the integrators, and so absolutely, I think that's the yin to the yang that's been the secret sauce.
All right, so let's head back to Scooply for a minute. So your services are basically you're picking up waste. Is there anything else in the services that you're doing?
That's it. It's just waste removal.
Okay.
Our guys, when they're out there, if there's other trash in the yard, obviously they're going to scoop that up. They're going to throw that away as well. But at the end of the day, the main objective is to remove all of the pet waste from the yard on a weekly basis.
And what about costs? And do the costs vary depending on, if it's, the size of the yard or is it,
Number of
apartment
dogs.
complex?
Yeah, right now we've targeted our marketing to specific zip codes. Why? Because our business model is more effective and more cost effective the tighter of the service area that we have. Because if our guy can bounce from one house to another really quickly, it just makes more sense. So the yards are kind of targeted already. I mean, we're just talking your regular residential yards are pretty much what's coming through as far as our clients. If we got somebody with a farm, we'd probably have to pump the brakes and talk about that one. So relatively, everybody's yard's about the same. We only have one model that we run, and it's weekly. We do weekly pickup, and that's $65 a month. And then if you want to, you can pay our yearly fee, which is I think it's 65 times. You get a free month at the end of the day.
Oh, okay.
But it's a really simple, basic model. Our website clearly outlines the fact that this is a once-a-week deal, and this is exactly what you're getting for your $65 a month.
Sounds like it's reasonably priced.
I think so. And what's crazy is that it actually works. It's profitable because of the tight geographic scope that we serve, and we'll expand outwards and service more areas. But for now, the tighter it is, the more profitable it is.
So jinx. You said you're building this to sell. Do you have a number in mind that you want to sell it at?
That's a great question. I feel like I should, but I don't. I don't know. I don't know enough. I feel like I should research other scooping companies and what they have going on. But I don't know. How would I even get to that number? Would you know how to get to that number?
So, I mean, first I would imagine you just need to decide how much money do you want to walk away with at the end of the day, based on your partnership percentage. And then I would just look into what are the multiples on a poop scooping company? Are you, do you feel any type of way about selling it to a VC firm versus, does your partner want to buy you out? And we could work backwards from there fairly easily. That information is one chat GPT question away.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And then what's your average profitability? Are you at a 15% profit margin? It's always a safer bet to build it out based on profit margin multiple rather than gross revenue, but gross revenue is easier to share with your team. So there's a lot of nuances to it, but it's a fairly easy number to figure out.
I need to figure it out.
We can figure it out. Let's grab coffee.
I like it. That sounds good.
I think you understand you're collecting some important data too.
Right now, it's all about data. The more data we get, so we're trying different marketing avenues. So we have Google ads, Facebook ads. We have door-to-door flyers. We're literally paying a guy to go do door-to-door flyers. We also have marketing or mailers go out. And so, what's the return on each of those? And then whatever one's the best, let's dump everything into those.
What I'm talking about, though, when it comes to data is pet owner data.
Oh, that too, yeah.
So, if you're, who knows how many resellers of information or whatever out there, but creating strategic partnerships to allow companies to know, okay, well, we've got, this is a family over here and they've got one dog and this is the type of dog it is and they got one cat and this is the type of cat it is and this is the kind of, who knows what kind of data you could collect.
If somebody was selling that right now, I would be very happy.
I would be buying.
Yes, I would be buying.
Also, though, you could potentially go and partner with doggy daycares and veterinary offices and offer an incentive to their clientele of hey, we'll do a month free or a week free of poop scooping services, and then boom, you're starting to capture that information from those offices as well.
So
Absolutely.
I'm going to challenge you a little bit here. Is that you're not in the poop scooping business, you're in the data mining business. That's where the real money's going to come. So
Very
as
Dan
you're
Sullivan.
building out the structure of your company and the expectations set with your clientele, the ability to capture important data, which means you need to have a pretty good questionnaire to get, well, first, what are the important pieces of data that people are willing to pay
That a consumer
for?
want, or that a business owner would purchase.
Exactly. Then you go get that and make that part of your natural data collection and make sure you know the legal side of that. So make sure you're covered legally. And then you aggregate that data. You end up selling that data or whatever. But I think that's the play. I've heard this said on Shark Tank too, and I think it was Mr. Wonderful. He's like, you're not in this business. You're in the data collection.
Yeah.
And maybe Mark Cuban said that too. But these are people that understand the value of data. And to your point, you're salivating thinking, I would love to buy that data because it would help my business tremendously. That should be a high priority, if not the highest priority in your business, at least at least explore it.
Well, that's a great point. I'd expect nothing less than for you to take it to the next level.
Yeah, we're just having a conversation about how to make some real cash flow here, baby.
I love it. I love it.
Me too. Cool, man. So we know your ideal client. We know your costs. We know your services. We know your origin story, man. Have we missed anything?
I think more to come. I'm excited to see how this plays out. We've been documenting this journey very well because I want to be able to show from start to end exactly everything that happened. So I think that'll be pretty exciting to show that where we've been and where we're going. So it's cool.
I love that. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. It's not too often we get to do this kind of a thing. It's a lot of fun to do it. But let's get wrapped up here for the day. As we wrap up the show, quick reminder, check out our latest podcast and catch video versions of the show on our website at satalkradio.com. Really take the time, and I hope people go through this episode here because they get to know you guys a little bit and see what you guys are about, what you're passionate about. But that's going to be it for this one. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.
Sounds good.